Hey guys, Jack, welcome back, and congratulations to Liverpool on lifting the Carabao Cup. It was such a big game, big occasion for a depleted side who just lacked a lot of experience off the bench. But despite a lot of youngsters having to come in for one probably the biggest games of their career, it took up until the 118th minute when Van Dijk scored a header from a corner, and it was such a huge occasion for Liverpool, despite having so many youngsters on the pitch. And Pochettino would be very disappointed that Chelsea couldn't kill the game, especially when they came on. But enough of that. Let's just jump into the game. The first 90 minutes saw this game go back and forth a lot, but for most of the time, Liverpool had the upper hand. They were controlling possession a lot, and what they really did well was that they prevented Chelsea from pushing out and progressing. They forced Chelsea to play in more of a counter-attacking role, and while they did have a few opportunities, from that, it wasn't how they wanted to start off. I think that Chelsea just struggled to kind of handle the pressure in those cases, and likes of Nicholas Jackson and Raheem Sterling just weren't able to push through Liverpool's back line, particularly with Konate and Van Dijk, who Konate in particular just had a lot of pace, and he was showing that throughout the game. I thought Liverpool's wing backs were doing particularly well. Robertson played very defensively, and I was quite surprised he started, given his lack of match fitness. But he started, and besides kind of like a petulant foul in about the 70th minute, he did reasonably well. Conor Bradley was huge kind of throughout the game in terms of he was probably one of the most advanced players at times. And I think that just shows the faith that Jurgen Klopp had with him. He was just really he relied on him to create a lot along that right hand channel. And with Sterling not defending, it was up to Ben Chilwell to kind of marshal that side by himself and have Gallagher or Enzo Fernandez try to back him up. And Liverpool were doing really well to push up, and I think that they were looking towards Luis Diaz a lot more than they would onto the right hand side, because Luis Diaz is a very good dribbler, he's very good progressive running, and Malagusto, while he did stop him a few times, I thought Luis Diaz did really well to cut inside. But credit to Chelsea's defence, they really shot, prevented Liverpool from having any really clear chances in the first 90 minutes. Chelsea had a couple of really good chances in the first half, especially from the break. They because once Liverpool kind of progressed up, they sometimes left areas exposed behind them, especially at the wing back roles. And there was a few cases where Nicholas Jackson got through, Palmer had a couple of chances, and Kiefer Kelleher did incredibly well. A couple of big saves, and particularly in the second half against Conor Gallagher, where he rushed out, then held his position, and forced Gallagher to make a decision, and Gallagher made the save. And I think he definitely had a really good game and showed why Alisson, when he is out either due to injury or otherwise, that Liverpool have a very capable goalkeeper behind him. And for up until about, I would say, the 70th minute, Liverpool controlled the game. Like, they had a majority of possession, and they just prevented Chelsea from having really any good chances at their goal. But I think just fatigue started to set in. A lot of these Liverpool players have played a lot of games. McAllister definitely looked leggy by about the 60th minute. A credit to Elliott and Eddie and Van Dijk. They just kept running. And Diaz. They just kept running, and definitely got a second win in extra time. But at that stage, in about the 70th minute, Liverpool came on to them, and Chelsea came on to them, and they generally looked good going forward, but they just couldn't take their chances. And that's been the story of this Pochettino team. They have done relatively well in terms of build up and trying to create opportunities, but when it comes to actually converting the chances, they don't make the correct decisions. And I can't tell you why that was the case, but they just struggled in this game. Most of Liverpool's substitutes that came off the bench were youngsters that came through the academy, and what I noticed is that besides Gomez and Simicast, there was a lot of these youngsters who have only really started playing this season. Like Bobby Clark, Quinn, Dans, they were, they've done well in their cameos, but nothing, there hasn't been much hype around them. And I thought at that stage, Chelsea would kind of push forward, progress, and just try to disrupt them. They're a very young team, and youngsters sometimes struggle under pressure. But when it came to the extra time, Chelsea didn't seem really up for it. And I don't know whether they just lacked motivation, or it could have been, it's like a psychological thing. Oh, sure, these are the kids, we don't need to worry about it. But honestly, I think it just showed really good character from Liverpool's youngsters. But I don't know, I can't tell you what it is with Chelsea, because honestly, like with what my background, I want to kind of know exactly what these players were thinking, and just unfortunately they just weren't able to capitalize on the kind of advantages that they had. I mean, despite this team, this Chelsea team being very young, I mean, like the likes of like Caicedo who's played for Ecuador, and the Fernandez World Cup winner Gallagher, who has a lot of minutes under his belt. Like they just had, you expect a lot more. Like, and Kunku did well when he came on in like the 60th, 70th minute, but afterward, but in this, in extra time, they just struggled to kind of do anything of note. Obviously, Liverpool had the goal disallowed of a technical offside. I just don't think that should have been the case. But anyway, Liverpool they kept fighting. They looked jaded, but towards the end of the game. But it took a corner. Van Dijk with an excellent header, taking it past Petrovic, and ultimately it was the goal that led to the game winner. And I was really impressed with just how much Liverpool has fought for this game. Like they seemed to fight for Klopp, and when you saw the full time scenes, they looked really happy. They looked really, they were, really excited, and Van Dijk looked really emotional. He was really proud of these youngsters, and I have to agree. Sure, there wasn't anyone that particularly stood out. Obviously, Harvey Elliott, I thought had a really good game, and Conor Bradley when he was on the field. But honestly, I thought that they just played. They held their own, and I think whoever comes into the club next season have a really difficult scenario with them. They have a lot of good youngsters, and I'm not saying all these players are going to become Liverpool starters, but definitely something to think about. In terms of my man of the match, I know I haven't spoken to him about it a lot, but I honestly thought that Wataru Endo was my man of the match. He sat in front of the back line and for the most part just screened them beautifully. Had a couple of crucial blocks, including one I think off of I believe it was Jackson or Palmer, who just it was from a follow up from a Kelleher's save. And honestly, I thought he was brilliant. He just had loads of energy. He played the whole game. And I didn't realize how much they didn't miss him during the Asian Cup, but you can see what he brought to the side, defensive bone, and he just, he covered the entire field, and he was just really composed in kind of how he was, going into challenges. Unlike McAllister, who can be a bit rash at times, but I thought Endo was incredible, and he had a couple of really good passes, and I think he's been a smart acquisition for Liverpool. Not the profile that they typically go for, but he's done really well with them, and a trophy and a trophy to his trophy cabinet, and he must be really pleased with that. So yeah, my man of the match is going to be to Wataru Endo. And then to quickly go over with Chelsea, I think, as I said earlier, I'm quite surprised what happened, but maybe it is just this kind of lack of experience of how to gear yourself up for these things. And again, I don't know what the case is. It's not my position to kind of say, was it poor mentality or something like that. Honestly, it just might be just mental fatigue. I mean, these players played 120 minutes. And I say after 90 minutes, because they're so young, they might just kind of feel, they haven't really developed the kind of mindset of kind of pushing yourself again for 30 plus minutes. And I think it just became, it just was a very difficult situation. It's just difficult just to manage for them. And that's going to come with experience. I don't think this should be a case of Chelsea having to freak out. I think I've definitely seen Chelsea fans not very composed at the moment on social media, and just calling for Pochettino's head. It's just not a really good idea. There is something being built here, and I think they just need to give it more time. This is such a young team, and you can't expect them to be so good. And I am aware that Liverpool's side was completely depleted, just full of injuries. They showed a photo of the likes of Szoboszlai, Nunez, Salah, who are just who are out on the sideline. But like, this is still a very young team, and obviously if they won this, they were guaranteed Conference League football, but they just need to go for it in the league now, or potentially the FA Cup. It's going to be very difficult for them, but they have they have opportunities, and with some teams faltering around in the table, they definitely could do that. I think Pochettino was very unlucky in this game, and this is just going to happen sometimes in cup games. You're just not going to get the luck of the draw. But as I said, well done to Liverpool, and for Jurgen Klopp, it was really nice to see him lift the trophy and look so happy. And I kind of hope that he does something. He gets maybe one or two more trophies this season, just so people can experience that again. So that's it for this match review. Let's quickly run through the Premier League games. So I'll quickly run through these Premier League games. Crystal Palace getting a big win over Burnley, and it was just not a couple of poor decisions and poor defensive actions that just led to Chris Falks getting 3 goals. And great start for Oliver Glasner coming in from, I think he was a free agent, having managed Eintracht Frankfurt and Wolfsburg, and just overall it was just a solid win, for them. And Burnley just don't look great. Villa did really well in the first half, just completely blew Nottingham Forest out of the park. But then the second half, they just kind of let it back in, and like it thought for a second maybe they could have gone a comeback, but Villa managed to get a goal to secure their victory. And I think Unai Emery needs to kind of develop new defensive ideas because of obviously the injury concerns that they've been having. But overall, good win, and Forest just feel like they just couldn't take that one extra step to secure a comeback. Then Fulham getting a last minute winner, Adama Traore with a great run and playing it to Alex Iwobi, who finished in a 90 minute, and I think it's Fulham's first or second away win this season. Man United just didn't look like they were there, and I'd say they were very disappointed how the game ended. But having lost Hoyland, they lost the focal point, and while they weren't going through that focal point often, like they still had a good finisher up top, and they definitely need to kind of sort out a game style before they reach the Manchester derby. Brighton managing to come back in towards the end of the game. Everything looked to frustrate them throughout, and after Gilmore got sent off for a dangerous challenge, that you could have probably thought the game was over for them. But Lewis Dunk with a great header, and Everton again, like they ruined the fact that they couldn't secure the three points, having gone up courtesy of Jarrett Branthwaite. It's just how it happens sometimes. Man City having quite a difficult game against Bournemouth. Ederson making a couple of good saves, and Holland just wasn't in form. Thank God if Phil Foden latched onto a rebound, and overall I think while Man City got the win, Bournemouth looked really good going forward. As I said before, like Semenyo looked really good to me. Dominic Solanke obviously really attacked their back line, and I think it's just really good to see with Areola that they can compete with the big teams. And I think Guardiola acknowledged that in his post-match interview. Bournemouth are a good team, and credit to Man City for picking up another 3 points. Then we had Arsenal completely romping Newcastle 4-1. Loris Karius getting his first start in the Premier League since I believe May 2018, and I don't think any of the goals are his fault. He made a couple of really good saves, but ultimately Arsenal played really well, especially in the first half. They just controlled possession, they moved it really fluidly, and they just they finished their chances superbly well. Saka looked really good, and I think that Jorginho is such a crucial player. I really enjoy watching him in this game. Just complete metronome, control the possession, control the game, and he was fairly given player of the match by Sky Sports or TNT. I can't remember which one anymore. But yeah, just great, great win overall for them. And Newcastle just a porous at the back as usual, especially in the second half of the season. Then last up was Wolves versus Sheffield United. Not much to say about this game. Pablo Sarabia with a great header, and Sheffield United had their chances. Ream Brewster had a couple of good shots, and they could have probably gone a draw from this game because Wolves were playing a very high line. And I think fair dues to Chris Wilder for going at Wolves, but ultimately they didn't pick up any points. Obviously there was a fight going on between the two players, and I think it's just one of those things, your frustration boiled over, and that'll just happen from time to time. Not great to see see it like this, but just have to deal with it sometimes. Fair dues to Wolves for securing a win, and they're doing really well so far. So fair dues to them. So thank you very much for watching, and once again congratulations to Jurgen Klopp and his young side for winning the Carabao Cup. Big achievement, and hopefully for their fans they win a few more trophies this season. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.